Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle. Hey, thanks for listening to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. Faith radio podcasts are only possible because of your support. Thanks for giving and for sharing with a friend.
Doing life together, reaching out with hope, encouraging one another, each step along the road. You and I can make everything a little better, doing life together.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Linda Mintle, the relationship doctor, and I'm here along with my co-host, the other Dr. Mintle, my husband, Norm. Every weekend we're here, we're doing life together, and we're so glad that you've joined us.
We are indeed. Now, Linda, I know you always, because I hear you complaining about how many emails you get. But in this case,
a lot.
you get inundated by health articles. And some of them are about a very important topic I want to talk about today because I'm fascinated with how do we live a longer life? And it's not just a longer life, it's a healthy longer life. Yeah, right? So as most people age, we still always want to be active. We want our brains to work, to be alert. I remember my grandmother in her 90s prayed every day, Lord, give me a clear mind so that I can think. She didn't care as much about her body, but her mind. I think we all want that, right?
And she did stay
She
real
did.
alert.
Yeah,
I
she was
remember.
97, I think,
Yeah,
when she died.
she was very alert.
So today, let's explore what we know from studying people who do live long lives and maybe gain some insight into how to better care for ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. What do you think?
I think that's a really good idea. And as you're looking at me, are you noticing that I have a blanket on?
Yes.
It's so cold in the studio. I want people to know this. I think it might help you live a long life. I'm not sure the cold.
The cold air?
I don't know. I don't think that was in my my notes for the research, but our technical director, producer, Wan Jingpu brought it for me because she said, your other coat, when you wear it, makes too much noise.
Wow.
So I have a
nice.
blanket on.
Well
Wasn't that
done.
nice?
Well
All right.
done.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's go back to living long.
Okay,
And
okay.
maybe this is helping me. At least it helps me feel good while I'm in here.
Well, comfortable at least.
Yes. And you know, it is true, Norm, that taking care of your body is part of what we see in the Bible.
Right.
So the scripture tells us that our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We need to take care of them as best we can. And one of the reasons we stress that so much is so that we can do the work.
I think that's the important part.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, I want to live long, and oh, God, let me live long. But the whole point of that is to build the kingdom and to do his work.
And do his good work. So we can't guarantee a long life, right?
No.
God is sovereign and all of that, and he knows the number of our days, according to the psalmist. But while we're here, we can do good things to help our body.
Good. So rather than being like Fernan de Soto, we don't want to find the fountain of youth. You didn't know where I was going.
Wait, this name. But when you said the last name, I did recognize that from history.
Right. That's right. We're not going to be obsessed like he was, because that was his whole
Or like our
focus
culture
of
is.
life, or our culture.
Yeah.
But we do want to talk about body care as that relates to longevity. So today, here are a couple statistics I want to give you. The average life expectancy of an American is 76.4 years. Seems young.
It does. I did see another one that said 78, but still, I thought
That
maybe it'd be
seems
like
young to me
80.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
And in 2023, over 70,000 Americans reached their 100th birthday.
Oh.
Now, your dad lived to be almost 98. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother was 97. My parents both passed away when they were in their 90s. So maybe we have good genes.
Well, that's probably part of it, but our parents also followed many of the guidelines found in the longevity research. So it wasn't like they were aware of the research and they were like, oh, hey, we're going to do these things like you and I are starting to think about. But what happened, Norm, is the researchers studied regions of the world where people live exceptionally long lives. And they wanted to do that because they wanted to discover why.
Mm-hmm.
And these geographical areas that they look at that have a lot of people that live to be 100, those are called blue zones.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, why blue?
Well, we had to look this up, right? Because I didn't really know. But what I was reading this to you in the car on the way over here has something to do with they used blue ink when they were doing this research to
the
circle.
region. Yeah.
The region where people live to be 100 and have a
Right.
long life.
They
yes.
were identifying these
Yeah.
places. I'm going to give you a few here in
Okay.
about 3 seconds. But they circled them with blue ink, and they called them blue
blue zones, and it stuck.
How about
So that's
that?
what they mean when they
Okay,
say
here
the
are
blue
some
zones.
of them. One is the Barbagia region in Sardinia, Italy.
Okay.
One is in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh.
One is the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. And one is in Icaria, Greece. So these are just some of the parts of the world where centenarians thrive. And we need to find out why.
Well, there were several researchers, demographers, epidemiologists, anthropologists. They've all looked at this whole idea of longevity and these blue zones in the world. And they wanted to identify some commonalities that they could see in these places. And so what we're going to discuss is the common denominators for this. And some of them might surprise you. Others of them, when I read them, I thought, well, these just make sense.
Sure. Well, here's the first one. Move naturally.
Yeah.
Well, how could you move unnaturally?
Well, I think it means rather than, having to go to a gym and do a complete
just
exercise
make it
program.
part of your lifestyle.
Yeah. They
Okay.
want you to understand that movement is really the key rather than having this very sedentary lifestyle that a lot of Americans have, sitting in front of the television, just sitting and scrolling on social media on your
Working.
phone.
So, Wanjing, do you sit at your desk all day?
Yeah, she's shaking her head. She
and
did.
she's in her 20s. Okay.
Yeah. So here's the thing, sitting for 13 hours a day and walking less than 4,000 steps a day can reduce the metabolic benefits of exercise. So you have to get up and you have to move on a daily basis.
I read a headline. I didn't read the article, but recently I read a headline that says if you do intense movement for 10 minutes a day, it's as good as...
Well, we're going to go into that.
Are we
just
doing
a little
that
bit.
one? Oh,
yeah,
good,
we're going to
good. You
talk a
knew
little
that
bit
one
about
already.
the incremental look at that.
Okay. Look, you sit a lot in your job.
I
sit
do.
a lot in mine. But you made an agreement with your doctor that you would try to get at least 4,000 steps a day. Are you doing it?
Yeah, and that was her sort of contract with me. She said you got to get up and you got to keep moving because I can get in the zone. And it's not the blue zone. I can just get in the zone and sit at my desk and get lost in whatever I'm doing for
Right.
hours.
Sure.
So it's great when the weather cooperates, Norm. I can get out, no problem. But when the time changes and it's dark early,
And then cold.
and rainy, or even sometimes slow or sleet, it's hard. So it's my goal to get in those steps. So some days I did this the other day. It was a really nasty day outside, and I just walked in circles in the house to get in the steps.
We were watching TV and you got up and started walking around in circles. I
know.
go, what are you doing?
I know, that's another way to do it. And even raising
sense.
my calves when I'm in a sitting position, that kind of helps.
Good. Well, the good news in all of this, and in terms of what we know about movement, is that you don't have to set aside an hour and a half a day to exercise. Most of us can't do that anyway.
Right. So it goes back to those small intervals of movement that you just mentioned a few minutes ago. And so if you're struggling to get in a regular workout, look, do what Norm is talking about. You just need to take 10 minutes to jump on an elliptical or go for a walk. So what I used to do, we actually just sold our elliptical, so we don't have it anymore. But when we had it, I would be sitting, I'd just get up at the end of an hour, I'd put my phone notifications on, I'd go up on the elliptical and I would do it for 10 minutes and go back down. Part of it is I had to go on a lot of Zoom meetings and I didn't want to look sweaty for exercise. So 10 minutes was about where I'd start, so I would stop them.
I think most of us find it very challenging to actually get into a regular routine for exercise.
know.
How can we get started?
I think you have to have a different mindset. I think you have to think of it less about exercise and more like just incorporating that movement. So again, walk instead of taking an elevator. You and I just did this. We were on the sixth floor of the building we were on, and we walked down the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Do leg lifts when you're sitting. Walk to your meetings. Park your car farther away from the grocery store entrance. Ride a bike or walk whenever you can. It's just movement, movement, movement.
Okay. The second finding that you saw in the research is one that seems a bit weirder to me, maybe controversial. It says, say yes to happy hour. But the more research that you're finding is that you should say no to that kind of alcohol consumption.
Yeah, so it is a little bit of a conflicting kind of message here. But here's what the deal is. Recent data is showing us that even one glass of alcohol a day is going to affect your brain cells, and it's not good for you. So what they're finding is that the impact of alcohol is really bad for the brain, and especially with your cognitions as you age.
So why is a glass of wine, which we know when I go back and look at that list in Greece and in Italy, they drink a lot every day. Why are they doing so well?
So here's what they found. It's not because of the benefits in the wine. It's the socialization that comes along with it. So in those longevity cultures, moderate alcohol consumption often occurs in a social context, right?
Sure.
Emphasizing the role of community and celebration in a person's life. And those positive relationships built in a community contribute to people's mental and emotional health. So it sounds like to me a mocktail.
Mocktail,
No alcohol.
Right.
Happy hour gives you the real benefits, right?
Okay.
And it's interesting to examine this in our own families, Norm, because 3 of our 4 parents, as we said, lived into their 90s.
Right.
Clear minds, relatively good health, and none of the 4 drank alcohol or smoked, and they built a strong community where they lived.
That's very true. Without knowing all of this fancy research
they didn't know.
that we have. Yeah. The next longevity strategy involves managing stress. Well, duh. I think we would have guessed that one. We all know that unmanaged stress is detrimental. We've talked about it on other programs. Yet, we know we can't avoid stress. So what's the thinking here?
So it's really about noticing the stress in your body. If your body is starting to tense up and your emotions are becoming very intense, then just take a deep breath, hold it for a few seconds, and breathe deeply. And the more you practice this, the better you'll get when, in terms of calming your body down in the middle of that stress. So the other day I was at the hairdresser, and he told me that he started doing this. I don't know how it came up, but he goes, here's what I'm doing. And it was exactly this. He said, I'm taking in the breath, I'm deep. Now, he's a very strong believer, and he tells himself in the middle of that little exercise, he says in his mind, God is in control, and he's with me in this moment. So this is a really easy strategy that you can do anywhere, anytime. And maybe try it before bedtime or at different times of the day. The more you can calm your body and your mind during stress, the better.
You know, I should do that during basketball games that I've been watching lately.
Or football season. When the Bears aren't doing well, right?
You know, your latest book talks about this, Hope and Healing for Anxiety. You also provide several practical ways to address stress and anxiety. So if you want more help in this area, get Linda's workbook and equip yourself with help that is aligned with the biblical worldview. You want to take a break? Let's take a break. And when we do, we'll talk more in just a few minutes.
Okay, let's be honest. There are times when we eat just because life is tense, or the kids are driving you crazy, or we feel anxious or insecure about a relationship with a friend or a spouse, right? Food might just be too available, or I can't help myself. We have a million excuses, but the truth is, sometimes we just eat out of emotion, not need. You know, it happens to all of us. So how do we fix the problem? Well, here's a quick prescription, and it begins with press pause. If you follow this simple plan, you can say goodbye to mindless eating and hello to the joys of eating. When you press pause, you slow down and begin to listen to your body. Am I truly hungry? What's going on around me that makes me want to put something in my mouth? So here's how to pause. We're going to spell it out. The P stands for purpose. Purpose to delay immediate gratification. Then the A stands for attend. Attend to the moment, but also be mindful of the future and how your immediate decision might be the one you regret later. Next is the U. Understand that your good intentions and even your willpower don't win the impulsive eating battle. You need a healthy dose of God help. Then the S, strategize. Find ways to incorporate God's help. You invite the Holy Spirit to work within you, and you'll discover His strength to improve your self-control. And then finally, the E, execute those changes. So to eat without emotion, press pause before you eat.
This is the Dr. Linda Mintle Show, and I'm happy to remind you, as I often do, to check out her books and blogs on her website, drlindamintle.com. You'll find all of those and the ability to connect with her on social media. X and Instagram, she's at that little @ sign, Dr. Linda Mintle, or on Facebook, you can find her at Dr. Linda Mintle, author and speaker. And please, don't forget her latest book is that workbook on anxiety that we just talked about. Anyone can use it to better understand anxiety and how to get rid of it. It's called Hope and Healing for Anxiety. And you can find a link on her website, drlindamintle.com, or you can find that book anywhere you buy books online. Well, before the break, Linda, we were going through these factors that help us live long. This one is so obvious that they already know what we're going to say. Diet and nutrition. So much research has been done in this area. We know when we looked at the blue zones, for example, that many of those people use a mostly plant-based diet.
Yeah, and that's the key. So it's the type of diet that people are using, and that's because it's high in protein. I mean, think beans, soy, lentils, rather than meat. Now, this doesn't mean you can't have meat, but small portions, small portions, like 4 ounces of serving of pork. It was the only one I saw on this one site, but I think chicken and fish are usually kind of thrown in with that. However, the more plant-based your diet is, the better. And you and I have been trying to incorporate more plant-based foods into our diet. We're avoiding the processed, sugary, high-fat foods that offer little nutritional value but contain a lot of calories and a lot of carbs.
Okay, I draw the line. I was at a restaurant and there was a hamburger listed as, I can't even remember the name, but it was code for this isn't real.
Plant-based. Well,
Yeah.
have you ever tried it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? You didn't like it?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said I draw the line.
Okay, all right. And
Now,
I
that's
like
what
like tofu and you don't.
No.
So, yeah, I know.
So the point is, this is all challenging for some of us,
Americans.
especially Americans who consume more beef probably than anybody in the universe. So how does this type of good eating impact our health?
So a more plant-based diet reduces, now listen to the list of these.
Okay.
Chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancers, because they provide rich fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, while cutting the saturated fats. And all of that leads to better gut health, less inflammation, lower blood pressure, and healthier weight. And all of those things contribute to longer, healthier living.
We need to do a show on gut health because I've heard you talk about
I know.
that so
It is
often.
it's like the second brain, and it's like the big frontier right now in terms of what people are looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand by, folks, for a gut health
Gut
show.
health coming soon.
Those are great reasons. You're right. We should make a change in those areas. But for so many people, the enjoyment of foods not in that
I
category
know most things.
probably outweigh the benefits of making the change, at least in their minds. There's such an abundance in our world, our country especially, of unhealthy food.
I know, that's so true. So you have to really decide if this is important to you. You know, and part of what you're doing is you're training yourself to be what we call in the medical world a restrained eater. So, you know, it's not because you can't have those foods, but because you do make a decision to eat healthier and you just choose not to eat the other stuff.
Sure.
But that's restraint. And certainly if you reduced animal, fat and highly processed foods, that's going to really help. So it's interesting, Norm. Loma Linda, California is one of the blue zones. We didn't mention that one at the beginning, right? That's located, in case you don't know, in Southern California near Los Angeles. And in Loma Linda, people live up to 10 years longer than similar demographic groups in California. And much of this difference in the lifespan is attributed to their dietary choices, including reduced meat consumption and increased consumption of the plants, tomatoes, legumes, nuts.
And could it be that this community is successful at this because it has a very high number of folks whose faith is Seventh-day Adventist?
That's exactly what it is. So the Seventh-day Adventists follow their faith's endorsement of healthy living while discouraging the consumption of meat, caffeine, rich foods. Smoking is discouraged, and so they have low rates of lung cancer and other cancers and cardiovascular disease, much lower. Adventists consume high quantities of nuts, which also are protective against cardiovascular disease. So there you go.
Yeah, fascinating. There's another secret to long life. That's to live by the 80% rule. What in the world is that? Tell us.
Well, it recommends that you stop eating when your stomach is 80% full.
Oh, wait. How do you know?
Well, you can tell. You can tell when you're paying attention to how you're feeling during the eating process. So again, you have to just kind of have some restraint over continuing to eat because the food is there. But if you pay attention, and this was part of what I talked about in Press Pause Before You Eat, that other book I wrote, where I talked about you have to pay attention to the signals of hunger that are in your body rather than just eating mindlessly. So if you're full and you're starting to get to that 80% rate of I'm pretty full. This came up the other night. Do you remember? I was eating something and I said, we had extra shrimp, remember? And I said, I could eat the rest of those, but I'm full. So I'm just going to put them
Right,
away,
right.
and
You
put them
did.
in there. I was
That's right.
doing this, and this is where you take the rest of your food, you put it away for a later meal, or when you're in a restaurant, you ask for a to-go box from your server.
I think
And-
when you walk into a restaurant, they all get out the to-go box just when you walk in because they know you're going to take it home.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good way to do it because people in blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and they don't eat then the rest of the day.
My mother did that, remember?
I know.
She always said, I have to have breakfast, and she
Right.
had to have protein. She ate her big meal at midday and then almost nothing for dinner, and
know.
they usually would just snack around very lightly.
And she lived long in her 90s, and
That's
she
right.
was very alert.
Yeah, very
So
healthy,
there you go.
right until the very end.
Yeah.
Well, we've been trying to do it too.
Yeah, we
I think
have
we're
been.
doing better.
I think
and
so.
certainly better at the portion control, which was a different way of
Yeah.
saying, I think, what you said before. But it's just so easy to keep eating when the food tastes so
I
good.
know.
And it's right there in
It's
front
right
of you.
there. It's the seeing it that does it. Yeah.
But I guess once you get in the habit of paying attention, it helps.
Right.
All right, let's move on. We've already alluded to the importance of finding a good community of friends, as there's significant power in the village, a strong relationship
Yes.
with friends when it comes to longevity.
Yeah, and so those who live longer identify close friends and they commit to those relationships. So love and positive social interactions have been shown to release oxytocin. And if you remember, we've talked about this love hormone
Yep,
before. It's
right.
the bonding, cuddle hormone. So that plays a significant role in reducing stress levels. So this means that having loving and supportive relationships can lead to long-term improvements in your emotional state and in your physical health.
Well, that makes so much sense because when you're with good friends and you're enjoying time together, you feel that. And who knew it was the love hormone?
Yeah, and you know, you and I have talked a lot about this in terms of eventual retirement, that we want to be in a community where we know
Right,
people and
right.
have those kinds of relationships, or certainly build those kinds of relationships wherever we are. Yeah.
And I think what we're saying here is that it's important, especially the longer you want to live, to prioritize these relationships.
And especially your loved ones. So again, here's what the researchers found. Successful, I can't say the word centenarians. Is
That's
that the
it.
right
You
way
got
to
it.
say the people over
Centenarians.
100? Okay.
Right.
Keep aging parents, that means, or grandparents, nearby. They commit to a life partner. And if they have children, they make an effort to spend time with them. I mean,
You know, those people in the blue zones, I think, are very typical. In Japan, for example, multiple generations
Yeah.
live together, stay
Italy,
together. They value,
Greece.
yes, the same. They value their elders, so to
yes,
speak.
and honor them.
Very different
Yeah.
than what our world is in social media and
Yes.
separation, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so back to our parents, we can see exactly what you're saying. They pass that legacy on to us of honoring parents very strongly. In Exodus 20, honor your father and your mother. But this is one of those promises, one of those commands that has a promise to
Right.
go with it. I love that. Honor them because your days will be prolonged in the land which the Lord your God gives you. I mean, how much more of a prescription do you want?
Yeah, and I we saw our parents honoring their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, we tried to do the same.
I hope our kids are listening.
Yeah, please honor us. They've been
They
honoring
have.
so
Oh,
far.
absolutely.
So, but the Bible is really clear about that connection between honor and prolonged life.
I love that.
It's a benefit of the Christian faith.
There was also another factor in our homes that researchers found to be important. And of course, for us all, that was faith.
Yes, and they tied faith to living in a faith community, a place where you can belong, just like we said, which added in their research 4 to 14 years
Wow.
to a person's life expectancy. So again, this returns to the biblical wisdom of building a faith-based community of believers who can walk beside you as you age and you navigate life.
Right. The good times, the bad times, the difficult things of life, they're there for you. That gives you purpose. Faith does, and it brings meaning to your life. Another life extender, according to science and the researchers.
You know, Norm, when we know our calling, our purpose, it keeps us going.
Yep.
To love God is a passion. To serve Him with your gifts is a profession. To give to others is a mission. All of these purposes of kingdom living bring joy and life. They give meaning to our time on earth.
So for as long as God keeps you on this earth, remember the psalmist said, you will still bear fruit in your old age. That's fruit of all kinds. Keep doing kingdom work.
So as you age, focus on taking care of the body God gave you. Also understand the importance of building a community of faith doing life together, like we've been talking about as our show is all about. And those are people that should be walking out the Christian faith with you, who can come alongside you in stressful times, who can rejoice with you in celebrations, and can encourage you in the faith. Even the longevity researchers had to recognize the power of living a life of faith and belonging. Well, that's all the time we have today. Many thanks to my co-host, Norm Mintel, who makes the show a conversation, and to our technical producer, Wanjing Pu, and our editor, Katie Sims-Wilson. From all of us here at Faith Radio, hey, we'll talk to you again next weekend. In the meantime, remember, we're doing life together, and it's better when you don't have to do it alone.
Doing life together.
Hey, thanks for listening to this conversation from the Dr. Linda Mintel Show. These conversations are available because of your support. Become a supporter now at myfaithradio.com. Please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes, and share it with friends so we can live life to the fullest, walk confidently, and find healing and hope.